The United States is increasingly concerned that Iran will launch retaliatory strikes targeting U.S. military forces in the Middle East as soon as today or tomorrow. According to latest Reuters reporting, the United States believes that Iran is planning on striking U.S. military bases in the next day or two, although the Trump administration is still pursuing a diplomatic resolution. Donald Trump warned that the United States could target additional sites if Iran does retaliate. And Iran has repeatedly vowed to strike U.S. forces if the United States struck. And well, the United States did strike. So Iran cannot back down on its own. Iran will likely target some type of U.S. military base in the region. And the question will be, will Donald Trump strike Iran again? Will the United States be brought into a larger war? The answer is, I don't know yet. Now, I'm outside, so apologies for the noise, but I'm traveling. So please consider subscribing to my Substack to support my work by clicking the button below, or supporting my work by sending a one-time donation via Venmo to Aaron Parnas. We're learning this morning that B-2 stealth bombers were flown visibly on flight tracker radar to distract amid concerns that Donald Trump might leak details of the upcoming Iranian strike on his social media. Donald Trump this morning is increasingly concerned about the price of oil rising across the world, saying, "Everyone, keep the oil prices down. I'm watching. You're playing right into the hands of the enemy. Don't do it." The State Department has issued a worldwide security alert advising U.S. citizens to exercise increased caution globally. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte emphasized that Iran must not develop a nuclear weapon. Donald Trump believes that the Iranians should overthrow their government if it refuses nuclear negotiations but remains open to diplomacy. Friedrich Merz said, that's the Chancellor of Germany, said that there was no reason to criticize U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Trump asserted, quote, monumental damage and obliteration of Iran's nuclear sites via social media, but Pentagon officials as well as Israeli officials confirmed severe damage, but used more cautious language than Trump because they were not completely obliterated, they were damaged, not destroyed. The head of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, confirmed Iran's pre-planned, quote, special measures to protect nuclear materials as of June 13th. The full damage assessment remains limited due to restricted access to the nuclear facilities. US, Israel, and IAEA rely on satellite imagery and Iran's internal reporting to assess contamination and damage. And so it's very difficult to really determine what is true and what isn't at this hour. Qatar reported stable security after the U.S. Embassy advised American citizens to shelter in place overnight. JP Morgan Chase has limited Middle East travel to employees for essential work only. 3 empty oil and chemical tankers diverted from the Strait of Hormuz overnight. And let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz for a second. That is why oil prices are rising. Yesterday, the Iranian parliament concluded that closing the Strait of Hormuz is the appropriate response. That is ultimately up to Iran's supreme leader and the national security apparatus in Iran. 20% of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. If it is closed, oil prices will skyrocket across the globe. In non-Iran news, Narcisco Barranco, a father of 3 U.S. Marines, was viciously beat, pepper sprayed, and thrown to the ground by DHS officers. I put the video in my Substack below. It's a video that I think everyone needs to see because this is what ICE is doing in the United States of America, detaining the father of 3 U.S. Marines who didn't do anything wrong to be detained. ICE detained the wife of a Marine Corps veteran while she was still breastfeeding their young child. Adrian Cloutra's wife, Paula, is detained by ICE now and facing deportation, despite her marriage to a U.S. citizen and pending green card application, because military family protections have eroded. The Los Angeles Dodgers have donated $1 million to support families affected by 2 weeks of immigration raids in Southern California. We have some important updates about the big, beautiful bill in the Senate. The Senate parliamentarian ruled that the Republican Party's provision limiting courts' ability to enforce contempt findings against Trump officials violated Senate rules for budget reconciliation. Advocates are urging the United States Senate to reject a proposal to cut billions from Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act right now, because it will potentially leave about 16 million people uninsured by 2034. The parliamentarian also ruled that a proposed 10-year federal moratorium on enforcing state AI legislation survives the bird rule scrutiny and will remain in the budget bill. This is the provision of the bill that essentially prohibits regulation of AI on the state level for 10 years, although there is significant Republican opposition to it. So I actually think it'll get kicked out. Yesterday, a man wearing a tactical vest opened fire outside of the Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan. He was struck by a vehicle driven by a parishioner and fatally shot by security staff, averting a potential mass shooting. And a dangerous heat dome is building over the eastern United States, with tens of millions facing level 4 extreme heat risk through at least Thursday. Folks, I'm telling you, I'm not even going outside based on the temperature in Washington, D.C., where I live. That's all the news right now. If you want to support my work, subscribe to my Substack by clicking the button below or send that one-time donation via Venmo to Aaron-Parnas, and I'll see you again this evening.